Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Menopause Wellness community. We are expecting a guest speaker this evening, and we are going to be exploring menopause and superfoods. So, if you are available, do join in. Come in and say hi. And we're going to be welcoming, very shortly, we are going to be welcoming our guest speaker, Leigh Matheson. So do come in and say hi. If you've got any questions around the conversation that's going to be happening, feel free to join in the conversation. Good evening. Welcome. Do come in. This is the Menopause Wellness community, and we are going to be welcoming shortly our guest speaker, and we're going to be talking about menopause and superfoods. So, join in. Do let everyone know that we're here. And we are just waiting for our guests. So we've got time, just a few minutes. We're waiting for our guest speaker at 8 p.m. And is Leigh Matheson. We are going to be exploring. We little know about. Hi, Lynn. How are you? Welcome. A long time no see. I haven't seen you for a while. Good evening, Sapphire. How are you? Welcome. Do join in the conversation. So we're back again. We're back to our scheduled lives. It's one evening a week at the moment. So Wednesday evenings, we are going to be discussing conversations around, and it's about raising awareness, isn't it? Educating each other. So we are doing a three-part series on hormones. Get to know your hormones. And last week we done estrogen, and today we have got a guest speaker joining us about to talk about menopause and superfoods. So feel free to join. And next week we're going to go back to our three-part series, and we're going to be looking at progesterone. I just feel it's really important for us to understand our hormones and what role they play in the body. So that's why we're doing that series. But welcome everyone. Good evening. Welcome Empress D and Maggie. How are you? How are you doing this evening? Feel free to let your friends know that we're here. We're going to have a guest speaker shortly, and we're going to get into a conversation around menopause and superfoods. This is an interesting topic, very interesting topic. How's everyone doing? Hi, user 4988. How are you? Good evening. Those of you who are new to the community, I am Jackie Fisher. I am a menopause wellness practitioner, and I'm also a menopause nutrition and weight loss management practitioner. And this evening, we are going to be talking about menopause and superfoods. So do join in the conversation. Oh, that's the wrong button. Welcomes. Do let everyone know we're here. Always feel better when the weather is brighter. Absolutely. It's a bit cold at the moment though, isn't it? But the weather does do a lot. I know it does a lot for me. I'm sure it does a lot for many others as well. But when it's sunny, and particularly now we're coming into the summertime. Hi user 9488. Particularly we're coming into the summertime. It's actually nice waking up when it's bright and coming home, getting back in the evening when it's bright as well. I'm not a big fan of coming home in the dark. I do prefer that. Hey Claire, how are you? Our community ambassadors are in the house. Welcome. We are waiting for our guest speaker, but I'm just catching up on everyone. How is everyone? Good to hear. I'm glad. Welcome user 4988. Welcome back. It's good to see you. So this evening we're going to be talking about, we are back on Wednesday evenings at 8 o'clock, and we are doing a three-part series on Get to Know Your Hormones. If you missed last week, it is on our YouTube channel now. I have uploaded, I've caught up to date with all the all the lives. So they're all on our YouTube channel. It's all up to date. So last week we done the first in the three-part series of Get to Know Your Hormones, and we looked at estrogen and what role it plays in our bodies, and what it looks like when it starts declining and fluctuating, and what we can do about it. Can we help it? So that's on our YouTube channel for you to go and have a look at your leisure. So feel free to go and take a look at that. I'm just seeing if Leigh is here. So we're going to be talking about this evening menopause and superfoods. I'm one for I do like my superfoods. I do absolutely like my superfoods. I just feel that there's so many benefits to it, so many benefits to them. But we're going to be delving into. Let me see if I can. Oh, here we go. Let me see. I don't know how to. Leigh.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm trying to. I can't see you
Great.
though.
No.
Let me just see if I can. Let me just see. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can. Oh, here we go. Do you know what? I've not done this.
It's put me on a different screen, so I'm not sure.
It's put you on a different screen.
And then I can see you as a host, and it's giving me 3 squares to invite others, but I can't.
Yeah, I prefer you to be. Hi, Lady 44. I prefer you to do. To have a split screen. I don't know why it does this. How are you anyway, Leigh, while I'm doing this? I can see you now, but I'd like to kind of see you a bit, a bit bigger than this. How are you?
I am good, Jackie. Thank you. I am. It's been a long week already. It's only Wednesday, but I am good. How are you?
That's good to hear. Yeah, same like you. It's a very long week, but you know what? It's busy, isn't it? Busy at the moment, but it's all good. We get there. I can't even find how to. I for some reason, sometimes when you come on here, it just does its own thing, right? Here we go. Let me see if I can do this. Oh, host. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this.
Well, if everyone else can see me fine, then that's...
Yeah, can everyone see Leigh? Can everyone see Leigh?
So everyone's seeing the same screen I'm seeing. Can you see the 3 boxes to say invite like I can?
Yes, I can. And I don't know, I'm not sure. Yes, everyone can see. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the Menopause Wellness Community. So we've got our guest speaker. Whilst he's talking, I'm going to just be messing about with the screen because I'd like him to have a bigger space. He deserves a bigger space, right? So Leigh, welcome, and thank you for taking the time out to join the community this evening. And we're obviously talking about menopause and superfoods, right? Exactly. I would like to, without me missing anything out, right? I thought about this. I'd like you to just kind of introduce yourself to everyone. Just introduce what do you do, and how you started off in the profession.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think I've got Jade here who's going to try and fix the screen issues. But yeah, while she's doing that, I think she'll be typing. You type it in the chat. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, a little introduction for the community. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. First and foremost, thank you, Jackie, for the invitation. Yeah. So my name's Leigh. I'm the founder of a supplements company called Menopause Superfoods. And really what we specialize in is providing raw natural herbs in their most natural form. There's so many different supplement companies on the market now. It's hard to know who to trust, what the additives are. And honestly, it's a minefield trying to look on the back of a packet at ingredients. So we try and simplify all that and just say, rather than some fancy ashwagandha supplement, here is the ashwagandha root. You can trust exactly where it's from. So that's what we do. And then in terms of why am I talking about menopause is probably the first question you're probably thinking. And yeah, my kind of health journey is unorthodox. My background, I've changed halfway there. Now there's only 2 screens. So yeah, my kind of entry into the health space is a little bit unorthodox. my background is in economics, and then kind of started a business selling moringa seeds, and then that's kind of grown into what Magic Tree is today. But really, my health knowledge grew from people just asking questions. They would say, do you have anything from or for low energy? Do you have anything for brain fog? Over the years, the questions would get more elaborate and kind of fibromyalgia and lupus and things like that. But the process has been the same. Really, it's just go away and research,
Yeah.
research, and read. And then in the last couple of years, mostly speaking to my mum, to be honest, because she was always, well, she was a nurse. She's retired now, but she was always a big naysayer in terms of, oh, you haven't, done your 20 years in the industry like I have. So what do you know? And then I was actually
Yeah.
talking to my mum where I realised. Actually, the consultations I would be given on a weekly basis, my mum was the ideal avatar, where she did have the fibroids, she did have a hysterectomy, she did have the diabetes, she did have the high blood pressure.
Yeah.
And actually, we sat down and spoke, and then I realized, or it kind of clicked that, the people I'm speaking to tend to be women between the ages of kind of 40 and 60, and there's a disproportionate number of women within that age bracket, and particularly ethnic women as well, that have a chronic health issue.
Yeah.
And then when you add in the menopause overlay to that, it's kind of all of these symptoms get bunged under the menopause umbrella.
Yeah.
When actually a lot of it is just other things that, yes, they are made more vulnerable by the drop in certain hormones, but they're not driven by a hormonal issue. And when you're chasing hormones, you miss the true underlying pathogen. So that's kind of my approach to menopause. Obviously, the hormones are real. I'm not saying the hormones aren't there, but it's
Yeah.
about proportionally or putting the proportional weight on these pathogens and issues to make sure you're actually getting to get the best results, really.
Absolutely. And it's about knowing your hormones, isn't it? This is why we're doing that series, the three-part series about knowing your hormones and having that understanding what they do, and what they're like when they do start declining and fluctuating. But so how long has the your magic tree been going?
So we started Magic Tree 5 years ago now. So back in
Mm,
2021. Yeah, it'll be 5 years next month actually. So yeah, it's been a real journey. Yeah, and I think what you said is pertinent there. It's about understanding your own hormones, and that really does help you to separate what is a hormonal issue versus a pathogen issue or a viral issue or a bacterial issue. And yeah, the better you understand your body, the better you can interpret what's going on better.
absolutely, absolutely. So when it comes to nutrition, how can nutrition impact menopause symptoms?
Um, So I think I'd reframe the question. It's not about
Mm,
how does nutrition reframe menopause symptoms, it's how does nutrition reframe all symptoms? Because if we
yeah,
break down any individual menopause symptom, whether that be hot flashes, frozen shoulder, brain fog, struggling to lose weight, whatever the symptom may be, there's a non-menopause explanation for that
yeah,
symptom, and there'll be lots of people who don't have menopause who have that symptom.
yeah,
So yes, it could be driven by a drop in estrogen. It could be driven by a drop in testosterone or whatever else. But the nutrition, from a nutrition perspective, it's let's take away the hormonal layer first and actually
yeah,
look at the nutrition that causes the functional issue in someone who wasn't menopausal. Let's fix
yeah,
that, and then if that kind of holds true, then okay, we can address the hormones. And there are foods that directly support the hormones as well, like fenugreek seeds would be a great example of that. There's herbs that can do it too, which I think we'll go on to talk about a little bit later.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, nutrition definitely plays a very important role. And the reality is, most, not just women, but most people are eating the
mm,
types of troublemaker foods on a daily basis that will bring on a lot of the menopause symptoms. And that's why such a low percentage of women go through menopause asymptomatically. But if it was a menopause issue, I think you told me this number, it was 24% of women that don't have symptoms. If it was purely a menopause issue, then that number would be zero because everyone goes through menopause, mechanically
exactly.
the same way.
Yeah, exactly. That troubleshooting food, those foods that can, kind of exacerbate symptoms. What typically are they? Off the top.
Um, Yeah. Dairy is probably the main one. Well, dairy and eggs, I would say, for two different reasons. But um, dairy would be the main one. One, because the sugar in dairy, so the lactase, a lot of people can't break it down, particularly if you're of African descent. Like
Yeah.
90% West Africans, for example, can't break down lactose or
Mm,
like the lactase to break down the lactose, and that causes inflammation in the body. That inflammation can raise insulin levels, and that rise in insulin levels can block all of your hormone or disrupt all of your hormones, I should say. There's also the estrogen itself that's in the milk. So that's the other thing that's going to disrupt your hormones if you are drinking, moderate amount of milk. Then you've got the eggs. Again, this is partly an egg specific issue and partly a poultry farming industry issue. The types of feed that most chickens are given are full of phytoestrogens and the destructive type of phytoestrogens as well that cause problems. So, I mean, if you were eating, and again, even these terms don't mean what they actually mean, but if you were eating free range organic chicken and you knew the farmer next door, then chicken wouldn't be as bad. But
yeah.
because that's not the chicken most people are eating, the eggs and the beef industry as well would fall under the same bucket because of the amount of antibiotics and the farming conditions of how cattle are treated would also mean beef is quite high. And something to generally avoid. Soybeans or soy in general is highly disruptive to hormones, and that's something most people should avoid as well. So it's not too encompassing. Fish is generally fine. Yeah, most fish is generally going to be fine. Most grains are generally going to be neutral as it pertains to hormones. Obviously, if you're avoiding, I mean, someone's put in the chat sugar. Yes, avoiding refined sugar, and let's not put all kind of sugar under the same bad umbrella. When you have sugar wrapped in minerals, generally it's fine. Generally, it's going to have the safeguards in place for it not to just spike blood sugar and spike insulin, because really what we're trying to do is stop insulin from being spiked. So if you have a sugar that doesn't spike insulin, it's not as bad. So things like sweet potato, things like blueberries, things like even watermelon wouldn't be bad. Even when we're talking about the seeds, a lot of the time, seeds are rich in phytoestrogens, everyone says, but there's certain seeds that don't disrupt hormones, like chia seeds, flax seeds, even sunflower seeds aren't bad because they have ligans in them, which stop them from disrupting hormones. But soybeans, for example, which isn't a seed, but soybeans don't have that, so the phytoestrogens run more wild. So, but to summarize, I would say soybeans or soy, eggs, and dairy are probably the foods that most people, and probably coffee, are the foods that most people are eating that are silently disrupting their hormones.
Yeah, and I suppose it's about doing your research, isn't it? It's absolutely about doing your research, because when you do the research, a lot of it's interesting what you're saying, because a lot of the time it says to eat things like soy and those things that you kind of said not to eat. So again, really depends on where you're getting the information from, right? Because
So
we
what,
can.
what, yeah, what I would say to that is, one is where you're getting the information from, and then two, who's paying to produce the information.
Yeah.
You'll struggle to find an article that says coffee is bad because it's $1 billion industry. You'll struggle. I mean, they're literally cutting down hundreds of miles of the Amazon every week to build soybean farms. So it's not really in their interest, and I say there because they're spending billions of pounds to do this.
Yeah.
So it's not really in their interest to put out a load of research that says soybeans are now bad. They've done a whole load of marketing telling us that soy is the next best alternative to milk and we should all be drinking soy milk and soy is great. So we have to always look at the commercials of it to understand, or to, I'm not saying turn into a conspiracy theorist, but if someone's spending billions to get you to eat something, then it's unlikely you're going to see much research saying it's bad.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So, some of these, again, going on what people are saying, some common myths about menopause and nutrition that can often encounter. What are some of the common myths then around this foods and menopause?
Common myths, I would say, and then specifically as it pertains to food. Um, I mean, it probably overlaps with the foods that I said to avoid. The milk would be one
Yeah,
that everyone says is good. The eggs is someone everyone says is good. There's so much kind of propaganda, and eggs has probably become the most divisive topic food that I've ever spoken about, and I'm not quite sure why. But people
yeah.
seem to be quite polarized in their opinion on that. Yeah, the seeds again would be another one in terms of a myth, but yeah, to broaden it outside of the food, I would just say the biggest myth is that I'd say menopause, probably just the symptoms associated to generalize it. So I'd say
Mm,
hot flashes aren't a menopause symptom. There's lots of men that get hot flashes, and there's lots of non-menopausal women that get hot flashes, and there's lots of women that continue to have hot flashes even once hormones are stabilized. So, yeah, the myth I would say is the over the over allocation to hormones as a causal factor for a lot of these issues.
mm,
Um, if you remove hormones as a causal factor, you are forced to look at other things which affect more people more broadly, and you're a lot more likely to see progress by eliminating those things. And actually, there's a lot of overlap because the types of things you'd want to be eating, or the types of kind of holistic practices you would want to be doing to cleanse yourself of viruses or or not parasites, sorry, viruses or
mm,
bacteria, or sugar in the system, heavy metals in the
yeah.
system. These are all the same things that are going to balance your hormones anyway, but not necessarily the things that balance your hormones will get rid of the other stuff. So it's kind of
Mm,
in my opinion, a better way to go about it.
yeah. So would you say then it's lifestyle habits then?
It's always a lifestyle habit. I
Mm,
don't believe in diets because diet is implies short term. Diet
yeah,
implies you're kind of going out of your way to do something you don't want to do.
yeah.
So, and when we talk about food as well, food is anything that you consume. So it's
Of
what you
course.
breathe, it's what you eat, it's what goes on your skin, it's your cosmetics, it's the makeups you're using, it's the deodorant you're spraying, it's the creams you're using. So yeah, all of that kind of encompasses a lifestyle. So
Mm,
yeah, I don't just limit things. I mean, food is usually the biggest needle mover,
yeah.
but not always. There's people that can achieve amazing results just from say breath work, for example. And you could say breath is food because it's the quality of the air you breathe and how you move it around your system. So um, short answer is yes, it's a lifestyle approach. But I think people get confused when you say lifestyle and they think, well, I have to do yoga or I have to start doing Tai Chi or I have to
Yeah,
do all these things. And it's not that. You just need to be conscious of all of your, touch
absolutely.
points. And it's always a growing journey as well. I think a lot of people also think, well, if I'm going to be doing this lifestyle, I need to be perfect by tomorrow.
Mm,
Um, and that's not the case. Obviously,
yeah,
education is very important and understanding what one step forward actually looks like, but it is then just focusing on one step forward every day as opposed to, but that person's eats salads every single day
yeah,
and I
absolutely.
don't, so therefore there's not much point trying.
You're right. It is definitely a journey. Absolutely. I've got I think is Athea's asked about chickpeas. Athea Rose asks, is chickpeas okay?
So most things in the legume family are generally fine. They're not going to be the cause of your issues. So yeah, chickpeas, lentils, and then most beans. Edamame, no, because that's soy. But yeah, most of the legume family is fine, and from a hormonal perspective as well, generally it's fine.
Yeah. Empress Dear said, "What should we eat and drink?" And I'm gonna, asking about how would you recommend if I'm saying to you, I'd like to incorporate superfoods into my daily meals. What would you suggest me do? I do.
Yeah. So the most important, yes, I think this is a good way to do it. What are the superfoods to incorporate? Because if you try and micromanage everything, it gets
Mm,
quite difficult. If you focus on, what are the main things that you want to eat, then it becomes a lot more straightforward. So I would say cruciferous vegetables is one. So green cruciferous vegetables. Um, and the reason I say that is because a lot of your liver processing of hormones, or a lot of your hormones are processed through your liver. So if your liver is backed up, that's where you're going to generally develop the estrogen dominance.
Yeah.
And that's whether that's because estrogen isn't being cleared, or you're eating too much estrogen, or progesterone levels are falling. However that kind of matrix happens, it's usually a liver problem. So cruciferous vegetables are the best option to activate the detox pathways that are specifically focused on the hormones. So broccoli sprouts would be top of that list. Brussels sprouts are also good. Broccoli is also good. I know there's a lot of kind of back and forth about, oh, but kale is not an original food and spinach is not an original food, so we shouldn't be eating them. If you can, make those micro adjustments, then great. But for most people, eating spinach and kale isn't going to be the reason you have, bad menopause symptoms. Yeah. So I do recommend them, but I don't necessarily disagree with someone who's saying don't eat them. I just try to make it more accessible for people. And then your fats as well. So how are you getting your fats in is probably the biggest needle mover. So, pork is probably the worst fat source you could be doing. And then probably surprisingly, margarine is probably the second worst. The whole kind of, I know I said dairy is bad, but the whole dairy-free butter is probably worse because all it is just rapeseed oil and cheap rapeseed oil or hydrogenated rapeseed oil. And then they market it as this healthy alternative. So that's the things I really don't like, when they take a cheaper, worse for you product and then market it as the healthy alternative and try and charge you more for it. So that's where the kind of margarines or the plant-based butters would sit. And they are not the good sources of fats. So trying to move away from the kind of seed oils and using more things like nuts, avocado, coconut oil, avocado oil as well if you're cooking, extra virgin olive oil as a base if you're making a salad or something like that. Using instead of using butter, if you did want to do baking or something like that, instead of using butter, you could use olive oil there as well, or MCT oil. So so to generalize, the fats would be the main place people are either doing the dairy-based butter, or they're doing the seed oils, or they are doing pork or bad meats. If we're talking about food-based fats, then fish would be the best option. So salmon, cod, even sardines. Those are your healthiest oily fishes. And then you want to kind of steer away from the tunas and the mackerels and the fish that are higher up the food chain, because they will eat other fish, and therefore the mercury gets concentrated through as well. And then the other main thing would be probably kind of two things: how we treat sugar. So there's a lot of people just say avoid sugar, which is true to an extent. You don't want refined sugar. So if you can do more things like root vegetables, sweet potato, butternut squash, that type of thing, that's going to be definitely beneficial instead of just rice or pasta or bread. But then the other thing people kind of get wrong is the fruit. The fruit gets bunged under the same umbrella as, we just can't do sugar, so fruit's got to go. And fruit is the best thing you can eat. Fruit is nature's healing food. So yeah, that's what I'd say. From the terms of the things you should highly prioritize, I would say that's where you should start.
Yeah.
So someone said stevia as well. Stevia is neutral, so it's better than sugar. It's not sugar really, because it's not glucose, it's not fructose. It's kind of a separate compound altogether. So I wouldn't even really put it in the bucket for sugar. If you do want to if you do want to sweeten things with it, I'd say just use it sparingly. But yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah, someone's asked about mackerel. Is mackerel not good then? Someone's asked, are you saying mackerel is not good?
So I would say if salmon is an 8 out of 10, if cod is a 7 out of 10, sardines would be a 7.5 out of 10. Mackerel would be depending on the source, the ocean it's come from, which you're never really going to know. It's probably going to be a 5.5 at best. If it's tinned, probably a 4.5. So I'm not saying it's the worst food in the world. 5 being kind of the neutral ground. For anything above a 5 is helping you. Anything below a 5 is harming you. it's not the worst thing in the world. It's highly dependent on the mercury. As I was saying, fish on top of the food chain is higher in mercury because it just gets concentrated through the food chain.
Yeah.
And so yeah, mackerel, king mackerel, and tuna would be the two highest commonly consumed mercury sources of fish. But if you're adding coriander to it, then that's going to help to detox some of the mercury on its way in. So that probably bumps it up to a 6.5. So there's always something you can do to neutralize the negative effects, but it's about how well do you understand the negative effects. So without making it too complex, salmon is a much easier alternative to mackerel.
Definitely, definitely. Got Mercy here. I thought soya beans would help with estrogen depletion. We'll stop eating it now.
So if you have estrogen depletion, then sure, then soybeans are probably going to be fine. So there's two parts to it as well. So the reason why it depends why you're estrogen depleted. If it's just fluctuation as part of menopause, fine. If it is let's say high insulin levels, so your estrogen production is impacted, that would be a different reason. If you've I guess if maybe you've had your ovaries removed, so then you've gone through kind of a forced menopause, then again, that's a different reason again. So some context required in terms of why. But the other reason we want to stay away from soy is because it feeds viruses. And the viruses are the other hidden disruptor of your hormones, as I was kind of alluding to earlier. And they can directly impact hormones. So, if you have high viral load, your cortisol is likely to be higher, or you're more cortisol sensitive. That then impacts your insulin levels, which then impacts your estrogen and progesterone levels. So, we need to understand the body as an interconnected system, or an interconnected system of systems. So, even when one system is impacted, it's going to impact other systems. So any food that significantly disrupts an individual system should be something we generally want to avoid. Particularly, we have the luxury of having so many different foods that we can eat. Not eating soybeans is okay. It's not that hard to avoid. You can't do soy sauce and you can't enjoy your edamame, but generally you can do everything else.
So just I've been itching to ask you this question, not to throw you in the deep end here, but
Right.
what if I was to say to you, give me an idea of what I should be eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for that one day to incorporate those superfoods? What would you say?
Okay, I thought it was going to be a worse question there.
No.
For breakfast, I would, so yeah, and to make it easy for people as well, I would say it's more about avoiding the troublemakers than trying. As long as you're above a 5, you're fine. It's not like you need to be at 10. So yeah, we can take that pressure away. So for breakfast, a lot of people struggle to kind of get away from the eggs. So what I would say would be a coconut yogurt bowl with homemade granola if you can. Just so it's not full of sugar. And then you'd want to add your chia seeds, you'd want to add your flax seeds, you'd want to add pumpkin seeds, and then you'd probably want to add some milk thistle seeds as well to help the liver detox. And then if it's not sweet enough, you can still just add a little bit of honey there as well. And that would be the breakfast. And then for lunch, I would probably recommend a salad. So that would be mostly greens, broccoli, kale, broccoli sprouts, spinach, probably a quinoa if you're not a salad person and you struggle just to eat greens, or you find it doesn't fill you up, you can add some quinoa because that's beneficial as well. And then if you want a protein in there to fill you up a bit more, then salmon would be the best option. And then if you're looking for a bit of moisture on that salad, then I'd probably add probably a pomegranate vinaigrette. Although I don't really recommend vinegar, so I should probably say olive oil, although I'm not the biggest fan of olive oil in a salad. And then I would say in terms of dinner, sweet potato, if you had a big salad, you don't need green vegetables again in dinner. But sweet potato or pumpkin or butternut squash as my carbohydrate. I would probably, or if, yeah, I'd have maybe the salmon for dinner if I didn't have it in the lunch. I wouldn't try to do protein really twice a day, every day. If I wasn't having the salmon in the salad, I'd probably do more roast peppers, aubergine, mushrooms, big portobello mushrooms, things like that. And then, yeah, maybe a bit of steamed cabbage on the side or something for dinner. Um, yeah, I'm full disclaimer. I'm not saying I do this every day, so I'm not expecting you to do that every day. But that's what I would, in an idealized world, that's what I would do.
Yeah, no, it's good to give an indication because I thought, just if we ask that question, we kind of can get an idea of what sort of things, we could be adding to. So in terms of these superfoods then, right, we try and eat them. And that scale, what you're saying, it's quite actually, I'm going to have a talk with you actually to see if we can get the scale for the community, because having that scale as a visual is going to be a benefit, to be honest. It will be a benefit. So, and you're saying that if we can have anything more than a 5, it's going to be
pretty much
beneficial.
Yeah.
Because I have seen some of your posts where you are rating foods, and they're very interesting. Very interesting. So, how long does it usually take to notice a difference after adding these foods into your routine? Then the benefit.
Yeah, good question. It's probably the question everyone wants to know most. And typically we're incorporating the herbs at the same time. So I'll caveat and say the herbs are kind of what's the word? Booster packs. So you make the dietary changes, which is the foundation, and then you can use the herbs, which kind of speed up the process. So yeah, typically in the kind of case studies I'm looking at, it will be alongside the herbs, but within a month, really. And it depends, what your starting point is. If you have debilitating menopause symptoms, again, it's probably not menopause and you have something else going on. So you probably need a more aggressive dietary intervention. But, if you're at that point where it's, I have hot flushes pretty regularly, brain fog's really troubling me, and I have bad frozen shoulder. So inconvenient, but, you can still go to work kind of thing. Then, I'd say within a month, we usually see changes. Not to say every single symptom will be fully disappeared within a month, but it'll usually be I have more energy, I feel more stable, my mind feels like my own again. Those are or if it is a more kind of osteoarthritic issue or a joint issue, that's probably more of a 2 to 3 months, depending how strictly the diet is followed. Within a month, I would expect to see some change. If you're not seeing any change within a month, then we should probably change something, whether that's trying a different herb, whether that is, trying a different herb, or focusing on a different aspect of the dietary change to make sure we're getting a certain nutrient in or avoiding a certain troublemaker.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a journey, isn't it? And it's very much going to be an individual journey for everyone. And I suppose consistency takes a key play in this also. It's no point just having it the one day and then just leaving it. You got to be consistent with it, right?
100%.
Yeah, we've got user 4988 asking, what about bulgur wheat instead of rice?
So bulgur wheat would actually be worse than rice, even though it sounds better because all the foreign grains sound more exciting and healthier for whatever reason. And the main reason is because bulgur is gluten. Bulgur is wheat based, so there's a lot of kind of marketing around gluten, and things that never had gluten in there to begin with will be put in gluten free all over the packet. But the reason why gluten isn't just something people with celiac disease should care about is because gluten is highly inflammatory. That's the real problem. People with celiac disease are more vulnerable to that inflammatory effect, which is why they have that celiac response. But everyone still has that inflammatory response. It just doesn't pronounce itself to where you feel sick and the bloating and the vomiting, or whatever the celiac symptoms that a person may experience is. So that's why you should avoid gluten, and that extends then to bread. It extends to pasta. It extends to bulgur. Forgotten the other Italian grain, but forgotten what it's called now. But yeah, there's a few other grains that are still. I think it's polenta, could be wrong, but yeah, there's a few other grains that are still gluten based. But simplest thing is to just Google, is this grain gluten based, and it'll give you the answer. The good grains I would recommend would be quinoa. I've mentioned it a few times, and that's because quinoa is actually a fruit. It's not a grain. Althea Rose has also given a good suggestion there. Amaranth is really good as well. Particularly if you are maybe still perimenopausal, or you're kind of intermittent bleeding, but you're still bleeding quite heavily, or spotting for a long time and you feel like you're losing a lot of blood, or if you're anemic, then amaranth is a really good option because it's a natural blood builder, really rich in iron. A lot of people aren't familiar with amaranth. I'm not actually sure which country it originates from, but it is a really good blood builder. So yeah, quinoa and amaranth would be your best grains. Rice is neutral because it's not glutinous, but it is just pretty much straight sugar. Brown rice is a slight step up. So brown rice would score a 4 because it's got the fiber. So you've still got some of that blood sugar protection, but it's still pretty devoid of minerals. So it's not giving you that much healing property.
Yeah.
Pasta and bread would probably be, if it's white bread, it'd be a 1. If it's white pasta, maybe a 2. If it's brown pasta, probably a 3. White rice, probably a 3. Brown rice, a 4. But to move above the 5, you'd need to be moving into quinoa, which would probably be an 8. Amaranth would probably be a 9. Sweet potato would be a 9. And then the other root vegetables like the pumpkin, the butternut squash, the cassava. I'd say unlocking root vegetables, even regular potato, would be a 7. But unlocking root vegetables is the massive unlock that allows you to enjoy carbohydrates without thinking, oh God, it's just sugar. And then there's such a variety of ways you can enjoy root vegetables, whether you're mashing it, making fries out of it, roasting it. It makes cooking fun again, I would say. Yams, yes, another good all root vegetables, cassava as well. Yeah.
Yams. So with when it comes to superfoods now, would you recommend things like what's your take on CMOS, that sort of thing?
Yeah, CMOS. Just on the yams, because I forgot to say, yams are also particularly good. Yams is probably score a 9 because they're one of the best food-based options to support the adrenal glands. And the adrenal glands obviously play a very important role when we're talking about menopause, because a lot of your sex hormones are actually generated in the adrenals as well as the ovaries. So that's why yams would actually be a good thing to incorporate on a daily basis anyway. But yeah, to answer your question about the CMOS, CMOS is a very good superfood for anyone or for everyone, pretty much, because it contains 90 plus different trace minerals, which most of us will be deficient in some of those trace minerals. CMOS in the context of menopausal symptoms would be very good because a lot of menopausal symptoms would be thyroid driven. There's a lot of overlap in terms of just being hypothyroid and menopause symptoms. And CMOS is the best natural option to support the thyroid because of its unique composition of zinc and iodine. It's uniquely positioned to be able to knock down the viral load within the thyroid. And then, beyond that, it also helps the liver as well. So if we're talking hot flashes, it's not kind of the primary option for the liver, but it does help the liver. It does help kind of cellular metabolism. So it helps to make sure you're absorbing other minerals from food that you are eating as well. It helps gut health as well. So whilst that's not directly a menopausal symptom, it is something a lot of menopausal women are dealing with. So yeah, I would say CMOS, and CMOS wouldn't even be in my top 5 in terms of superfoods for menopause or how we currently define menopause. But even then, it still has so many benefits.
Yeah, definitely. So what would you say to anyone that would want to start on this journey of superfoods? What would you recommend to them?
So It's a good question because starting can sometimes be the hardest part in terms of it's very overwhelming. Even when we look at our website and we've got 15 different herbs now, and it's kind of I couldn't possibly expect someone to know what the different benefits of all these different herbs are. So first part is education. So you don't need to be an expert to start, but you also don't want. I think it's one of those ones, honestly, where a little bit of knowledge is more dangerous than no knowledge at all. So do the research. I would say, and do your own research. If you Google any supplement or you kind of go on social media and look at any supplement, you'll see 20 different voices saying 20 different things about it. I would say the 10 videos giving the most extreme examples, ignore that. The 10 videos giving the most extreme examples on the negative side, ignore that. And it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle. And then the second thing is kind of making sure you're getting a good quality supplement. A lot of people will say, "Oh, it didn't work for me," and then I say, "Which supplement did you use?" And then it's just some random drop shipper on Amazon with a whole load of other ingredients in there, or it doesn't even have the bioactive or the therapeutic dose in the supplement. And again, I'm not expecting you to be an expert. You can ask the questions in terms of, well, what does a good ashwagandha supplement look like? What does good, Dong Quai look like? What does good Shilajit look like? And there's definitely, ChatGPT can tell you the answer to that, to be honest. So that's where I'd leverage tools like that. But yeah, so in terms of starting, the most important thing is to know what to take. So let me tell you that. So the best hormonal regulator, or I'd say the good thing about herbs in general is that they are adaptive. They're not blunt tools. If you take, let's use HRT as an example, and I'm not criticizing HRT here because a lot of women will benefit from using HRT or BHRT. But if you use that is a blunt tool. You're just putting estrogen or progesterone into the system, and the body's going to have to deal with it whether it wants it or not. What the herbs do, which I personally appreciate and like about the herbs, is generally they will be adaptive. So they will look at what the current state of play is, and they will say, okay, do you need estrogen? Yes or no? And then if the body does need estrogen, it will supply the building blocks to make the estrogen. It will provide the luteinizing hormones, for example. If it doesn't need the estrogen, it won't give the compounds it's given will be utilized in a different way. So you're not just getting an overload of the issue. That's why, for example, CMOS is good if you're hypothyroid, and it's good if you're hyperthyroid. Because it kind of knows how to use the nutrients. It's got the polyphenols, it's got the antioxidants, and I think that's kind of the language of the body, so it can communicate and speak that language, and there's a bit more of a give and take that happens. So yeah, in terms of what would I recommend actually using, Dong Quai would be the most general support herb for menopause because it's a hormonal regulator. So it's actually a Chinese herb, but it's been used for thousands of years. It's actually got the name female ginseng in China because that's how kind of commonly it's used. But whether it's hot flashes you're looking to deal with, it's also a massive blood booster or builder as well. So in terms of circulation, it's a great option for that. If you are someone who's still spotting, or you've got irregular bleeding or long periods of bleeding, then I wouldn't recommend using Dong Quai. But if you're looking just for purely hormonal balance, then Dong Quai is a great option. Shilajit is another great option. So Shilajit is a mineral resin from the Himalayas. And the reason why it is so good as a broad spectrum solution for menopause, and it's actually the herb that we see women with menopause say they experience the benefits with the most, is because one, it contains 80 plus different minerals, so it fills in the gaps. Two, it boosts coenzyme Q10, which is the chemical or compound in your body that you use to absorb all other nutrients. So when that is boosted, it means you just are able to absorb more from everything else that you are eating. Three, it does also balance hormones as well. So it will balance any imbalances that you have. Four, it's an energy booster. So it increases your energy on a mitochondrial level. So fatigue is a massive kind of issue when we're talking about Fatigue is a massive issue generally with menopause, and the shilajit helps that. And then 4, because it's increasing energy on a cellular level, it also helps brain energy or mental energy. So a lot of people will report saying they feel that mental clarity. They feel like they've got their mind back again. It kind of compensates for that drop in progesterone, which can make you more susceptible to stress. And then 5, it also helps the adrenals as well, which I kind of mentioned before in a context of the ashwagandha on the yams. So yeah, across the board, shilajit helps in every single aspect. So yeah, and then lion's mane would be the other kind of main herb I would recommend, mostly from a brain perspective. So if you are dealing with the brain fog, if you are dealing with any anxiety, bad sleep as well, or lemon balm would be another option for bad sleep. But those would be the primary herbs. And then depending on what specific symptoms you are kind of dealing with, then there's probably a slightly different herb for that specific issue, because it's not just a menopause issue. But yeah, so Lady B, that was shilajit I was talking about, I think.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Leigh. Do you know, as you were saying, all these things, saying all these superfoods, it occurred to me that, is there any superfoods that we should not be taking together?
Good question. Yes, there definitely are. So it depends on your symptoms rather than just, these two things are always bad. There's definitely, so okay, the key troublemaker things would be if someone's trying to do a detox and they are stacking too many kind of detox supplements at the same time. So if someone is doing, say, spirulina, and they're doing activated charcoal, and they're doing let's say Epsom salt bath, and they're doing maybe chlorella as another one, then what might be happening, you're trying to detox too fast and your liver is basically screaming out, slow down. So as quickly as you're detoxing, your elimination pathways aren't as open to fulfill your detoxing needs. And all that happens is you end up reabsorbing all those toxins. And whereas before the toxins were nicely and neatly filed away in their different nooks and crannies in the liver, it all gets released, and then the liver has to go through all that work of detox, of filing it away again. And then that's when the estrogen kind of processing can slip and things like that. The other thing would be parasites. People that all my issues are a result of parasites. So you do the wormwood, you do the black walnut hull, you do the cloves, and you do that routinely. Or another narrative I've seen as well, when you hit 50 or when you hit 40, you should just be doing a cleanse every few years. And yeah, if you have parasites, do that. If you have menopause symptoms, you probably don't have parasites, so therefore you don't need to be using antiparasitics, because these compounds in higher concentrations can be neurotoxic. So it's just going to make your brain fog worse. It's going to make that shoulder pain worse. So so there's not that many things you shouldn't be stacking together. If someone wants to experiment with a bit of lion's mane and ashwagandha, and they also used blue vervain, and they also used lemon balm, and they also used licorice root, for example, you'll probably feel a bit overstimulated, and then you probably just cut them down by half, and then you probably find that Goldilocks position. So there is it is forgiving in that sense, and that's another reason why I like the herbs. So you can kind of experiment a little bit and see what works for you. Obviously there's medical contraindications as well. I think I saw someone say they were on Wayfaring, so blood thinners. I think I saw someone said they were on HRT as well, so they can't use estrogen-based remedies or treatments. So yeah, I mean, if you're on HRT and you don't want to use estrogen-based remedies, you probably don't want to use Dongquai, because one of its primary functions is to regulate estrogen. If you're on blood thinners, you probably don't want to be using too many blood thinning herbs like moringa seeds, for example, because that's going to dilate the blood vessels, which effectively thins the blood. You wouldn't want to be using, let's say, milk thistle seeds too aggressively. Even then, if you did use them, your blood pressure would drop a little bit. Maybe you feel a bit woozy for a day or two, and then you just stop using it. But if it was that effective, you should probably just come off the Wayfaring because that Wayfaring is damaging your liver and your kidneys. The moringa seeds is not. HRT is a bit different because especially if you're using a cream rather than kind of an oral treatment, it's not going through the liver, so it's not as bad. So yeah, there's some nuance there.
No, that's really useful, and I'm just mindful of the time, how long we've got you still, because look at the time's just gone so quickly. I'm not gonna. I want to try and get, if we can, get some questions answered. I know most of them have been answered. Before I ask you, I think I've got maybe one more question to ask you. But it's been really useful for you giving us those superfoods and kind of like giving us an indication of what we could be using. But I feel it's important as well when you start taking your superfoods, right? It's how important it is to track how it's having an impact on you, because it should be great, right? But if it is giving you other symptoms, then it's important to make a note of those, and whether you're going to reduce using what you're taking, because it could be that you're taking more than you need to. So it's again important of tracking when you start using superfoods, right? With anything really.
Yeah, 100%. There's a narrative that just because something is natural, it automatically means it can't hurt you. And there's a whole load of poisonous plants, poisonous frogs, and poisonous lots of things that would disagree with that. So we do definitely have to respect the nature, and not just assume, well, because it's natural, it's going to be fine. It's not everyone. It's not for everyone necessarily to kind of keep a food diary or keep a daily diary. I get that, but yeah, that would be ideal. If you can track what are you eating, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When did you take the herbs, and how are you feeling? Because a lot of the times your memory fails you. You think, I'm just not really doing anything. But actually, if you wrote down how you felt on a daily basis, you'd say, oh, actually, I feel got more energy today. I feel better today. Bad day, but that was because of work, or bad day because I got some bad news. But actually, the next day, I actually felt I managed that stress a lot better, and things like that. But when you try and remember the whole last month or the whole last 2 weeks, sometimes you can blur things, and negative events can supersede and take more a bigger allocation than it necessarily should. So yeah, tracking is definitely an important and helpful tool that people can use and should use. I caveat because I'd be a bit of a hypocrite if I said I did it myself. But in terms of best practice, then yes, especially if I'm pretty comfortable because I understand how the herbs work and I understand kind of what adverse effects I should be looking at. But taking it back to that earlier question of, what are the things to look out for when you're starting with superfoods or supplements? Yeah, if you're not sure, then definitely keep a diary, because even if you start using herbs and then it's not quite working for you, and you want to go to a naturopath or a herbalist and let them help you, then if you have a clear food diary where you can say, this is how I felt and this is what happened here and that's what happened there, it just helps them help you a lot better as well. So even if you're not the expert yourself, it helps an expert help you.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think I've seen any more. Let me just see on here. Someone's asked about honey. You mentioned about honey earlier on, didn't you? How is honey okay?
Yes, honey, as long as you're not eating it by the spoonful, honey is generally going to be a lot better than any other sugar source you're going to use. The ideal sugar source would be monk fruit syrup, which even in most supermarkets is going to be mixed with other synthetic sugars. So a bit of a caveat there. But if you're buying a higher quality honey in particular, so I'm not just saying kind of Roundtree's. I'm not just saying the cheapest Sainsbury's one, but if you're buying, from a farmer's greengrocer or a farmer's market store, and you probably have to spend over £7 to get a good quality honey. And yeah, this is going to be fine. That's going to be a better source. People talk a lot about agave. Yes, it's higher in fructose, so yes, it does hit the liver a bit quicker. Is it the worst thing in the world? No, it's probably a 5. Maple syrup, again, probably a 5. Honey, probably a 6 because it has more minerals. Monk fruit syrup would be a 7. It's not sugar because it's not glucose or fructose. So yeah, try not to kind of get yourself into too much of a whirlwind. The best thing is just try and use less of it, whatever you are using. So just trying to cut down that sugar dependency. And actually, the good thing about sugar is all it takes is 2 weeks. If you can cut out the sugar for 2 weeks, you change your tolerance for sugar. And I can say that from first-hand experience. I used to be a real sugar addict, and then a very heavy dental bill changed that for me. So all it took was 2 weeks. And if you can get off the fruit juice as well, because the fizzy drinks and the fruit juice is where people kind of secretly get that dependency and get hooked. And if you can go 2 weeks just on water or lemon water or cucumber water, because you can still get that flavor. When you try and go back to squash or Coke or anything like that, it's like, oh, this is just way too sweet. And that kind of transfers over to chocolates, it transfers over to sweets, it transfers over to baked goods, and you just don't like it anymore. And if another herb you can use if you are struggling with a sweet tooth would be a herb called gurmar leaf. So it's actually it's an Ayurvedic diabetes herb. And it's good for the pancreas as well. So it's good for that, good for insulin levels. But the key thing that it does, when you chew the raw leaf, it actually numbs your sugar receptors. So when you eat sweet things, it doesn't taste sweet. So it kind of helps to reduce that craving. So that's another tool you can use as well. And you can get that kind of online. We don't sell it ourselves, but you can get it.
Can you pop that in the, I don't know if pop that, what was it you said, what leaf?
I'll type it, just start looking for questions. It's called gurmar leaf, and another name for it is gymnema, so I'll put that as well. It's a bit tougher to spell. Gymnema, oops, autocorrect. Yeah, there you go. I saw someone ask if it's okay to drink moringa leaf tea. Lost the question now, but someone did ask it. Yes, generally, moringa leaf tea is good. Moringa seeds are good. Again, it wouldn't be the primary menopause herb, but it is great for liver detoxing. So, yes, and just quality of the source is also important. But yes, it's a good food to eat. And just there's a few people that asked to summarize the foods. In terms of the supplements, I would say Shilajit, Dongquai, and lion's mane are your best place to start. If you're dealing with something like frozen shoulder, then fenugreek seeds would be a great option for you. Black seed oil would be a great option for you. If you're dealing with brain fog, then things like Brahmi would be another good option alongside the lion's mane. If you're dealing with inner ear issues or tinnitus, which is pretty common as well, then I would say astragalus and black seed oil would be the best option for you. If you're dealing with joint issues more generally, then sea moss would be the best option for you because of the silica and the calcium in there. If you're dealing with hair thinning, then ashwagandha and lion's mane are probably going to be the best options for you, and batana butter as well. So the batana butter is for the hair itself to strengthen the hair strands, and then the ashwagandha and the lion's mane would be to support the adrenal glands. And that would the adrenal glands is what kind of is the backbone of the quality of your hair. If you're dealing with weight gain, then black seed oil, ashwagandha, and sea moss are probably going to be the best options for you. If sleep is an issue, lion's mane and lemon balm are going to be the best options for you. If you're dealing with mood swings, then lion's mane and Brahmi are going to be the best options for you. If you're dealing with hot flashes, milk thistle, dandelion tea, nettle tea, I said milk thistle already, didn't I? Broccoli sprouts, those are going to be the best options for you. So I'm not expecting to remember all of that, but hopefully if I said something that does apply to you, you kind of tuned in. That's a quick summary of the supplements.
No, thank you for that, Leigh. I think we'll definitely I'll speak to you and we'll put maybe a superfood list for the community together, because there's so much information there. I think it'd be nice to have maybe a visual so people can go back and refer to. So this last question, as we're coming up to like 9, we've gone past 9 actually. So where can people find more information, more advice, maybe recipes or guidance if they want to dive deeper? Go to your website.
It's your website. Yes, you can do that. You can definitely go to the website, Magic Tree Superfoods. So if you go to our page, or the links will be in the bio. So we sell supplements. Most of the supplements I just mentioned there, we will sell those. Appreciate I went through those quite quickly. So if you are impacted by any of those issues and you're not quite sure which ones are right for you, then you can just send us a message on the website. And it's me and my partner Jade who pretty much respond to everything. So yeah, we'll be able to help you. We also do one-to-one consultations as well. So if you've got specific symptoms and you're kind of not in, you tried the standard menopause remedy and it's not really working, then I would say a consultation is probably the best place, because you probably don't have a menopause issue. You probably have an Epstein-Barr issue. And in terms of resources, yeah, if you just follow our Instagram page, then we try to post every day. It's not all menopause related content, but it probably is still going to be relevant to you, because you're not only menopausal, you are still all the other things that you need to try and stay away from. And then hopefully with the support of Jackie, we'll be able to bring you lots more information right here in the menopause wellness community as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely get back. I just saw this last question from Janie. What about for low libido and dryness, please? What low libido and dryness? Anything? What would you recommend for that?
Yeah. So there's a few different herbs you can try, to be honest. There's so fenugreek would be kind of the best culinary option. Dongquai is also a very good option because it helps blood flow to the genitals as well. I would also recommend ashwagandha, because high insulin is a big driver of dryness and lower libido. And then, so not to say you need to use all of these herbs. Outside of the herbs that we sell, Fedosia agrestis is a Nigerian herb that's commonly used for libido as well. It's more of an aggressive herb. So be careful with that one. And there's other options there, but that kind of gives you a foundation of where I would start with that. Ashwagandha is probably, shilajit as well is another option for that as well. But ashwagandha is probably where I would start. And then I would, probably add shilajit to that as a second step. And if that wasn't working, then I'd maybe try and upgrade to Fedosia agrestis. But we don't sell Fedosia, so there's not a source I can recommend.
Okay. But Leigh, you've been amazing, and Jade, amazing too. Thank you, Jade. Because we forget about people in the background, don't we? But you do so much stuff there. But I just want to thank you, and I'm gonna definitely be in touch so we can put together, because it's a lot of information to take in, and we'll put together for the community the list of superfoods. And I'll get that out to people as well. So, but again, thank you. One thing that you would kind of end today's session with, one takeaway for everyone, what would you say it would be?
That's a hard question. One thing to take away, I would say, don't put yourself in the menopause box. You're not a menopausal, well, you are a menopausal woman, but you're not just a menopausal woman. Your symptoms are, broaden the mindset, broaden if you weren't menopausal, what would you do about these symptoms? That's probably the starting point. Attack that first, and then let's see what's left. And then if we need to correct the hormones thereafter, then we can do that. Because actually, correcting the hormones is probably a lot more complex than fixing the viral issue, or fixing the, nutrient deficiency, or fixing the stress issue, or fixing the adrenal issue. Because hormones is probably the most complex system inside the body, where you have so many different organs actively contributing to it. You've got the stimulating hormones, you've got the bioactive hormones, you've got the repair hormones, you've got the pancreas, thyroid, brain, adrenals, ovaries, all contributing, and liver, more as well, all contributing to the system. So it's really complex if you're just trying to say, and we reduce it down to this, I'm estrogen dominant, what do I do? But as I've just said, there's 8 different organs that could all be contributing to that issue. So, and if any of those individual organs are dysfunctional, then it kind of puts a massive blocker on your ability to just go after that last end issue. So, stop thinking about, I've got a hormonal issue, and because that's the easy option. What's the simplest answer is often the best. So what's the simplest answer? Let's do that. And then attack it that way is what I would say.
Leigh, thank you very much. Jade, thank you very much. And no doubt we'll be inviting you again to the community sometime soon in the future. And but we'll definitely get together. I think what we're going to do, we're going to wrap up now, and I'm sure everyone, you know, in the community who's passed through today and who is still here would like to thank you for being here and imparting your knowledge, your expertise on, you know, I've learned so much today, and definitely see what superfoods I'll be on buying. I've got a list here that, as you started saying everything, I've got a list here. So I'm going to end the live, and I'm going to end the live like I always end the live. I end the live in two ways. I send a virtual hug to everyone. And the second way is just to remember that you are not alone. And if you feel alone after the live has ended, please reach out to someone who you trust, someone who will listen to you, and someone who will understand. But we will see you next week, Wednesday, when we're doing our second part of the 3-part series of Get to Know Your Hormones. And we're going to be looking at progesterone. But Leigh and Jade, thank you very much, and stay blessed. And everyone else, have a lovely evening and enjoy the rest of your week.
No, thank you for having us, and hope everyone enjoyed it, and we'll definitely work again. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Go and follow Leigh, everyone. Go and follow him. You take care. Bye.
Bye, everyone.